Imagine a library where every single book is a prisoner. Heavy chains lock them in place, preventing escape. It sounds like a dystopian nightmare, but this was the everyday reality in Europe's most prestigious libraries for centuries. Why would people go to such extremes? Welcome, Weirdly Forgotten. I'm Ripon. And together we'll uncover the strange, fascinating story of chained libraries, where knowledge was both treasured and trapped. Picture yourself stepping into a medieval library. The smell of old parchment and ink fills the air. Sunlight streams through stained glass windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the silent atmosphere. But instead of freely grabbing a book from a shelf, you see them chained, literally prisoners of knowledge. Rows of ancient manuscripts, each one bound to its lectern by a sturdy iron chain. Why? Because in a time when books were incredibly rare, they were priceless treasures, often more valuable than gold. These weren't just collections of pages, they were the lifeblood of a community, the sum of its wisdom, and they had to be protected at all costs. The chain wasn't a symbol of distrust. It was a mark of profound respect for the value of what was written inside. To understand why these books were under lock and key, we need to appreciate what they represented. A book wasn't just an object. It was the product of months, sometimes years, of intense, back-breaking labor. Before the printing press, every single word had to be copied by hand. Scribes, often monks in secluded monasteries, would spend their days painstakingly transcribing texts, letter by painstaking letter. Their tools were simple: a quill, ink, and a steady hand. Many of these manuscripts were also works of art, decorated with intricate illustrations known as illuminations, often using expensive materials like gold leaf and crushed lapis lazuli for the vibrant blue pigments. Creating a single Bible could take a team of scribes and artists years to complete. Given this immense investment of time, skill, and resources, a book was an object of immense value. Losing one wasn't just a theft of money, it was a theft of irreplaceable knowledge and artistry. Imagine living in a world where a single stolen book could mean an entire community loses its only access to medicine, science, law, or religious wisdom forever. That's the kind of vulnerability these libraries were trying to prevent. So, how did medieval librarians protect their treasures? The answer was simple, effective, and made of iron. The system of chaining books was the high-tech security of its day. Each manuscript was bound with a metal plate attached to its cover, and from that plate extended a chain. This chain was then fixed to a metal rod running along the shelf, or lectern. The chain was designed to be long enough for a reader to pick up the book, place it on the desk in front of them, and read it comfortably, but it was just short enough to stop a thief from walking out the door with it. Special lecterns were often built as part of the system, with angled tops, so the books could be opened and studied right there, but never removed. This wasn't a quirky, isolated practice of a single monastery or eccentric book collector. It was widespread across Europe, from the Hereford Cathedral in England, which still has its chained library intact, to libraries in Italy, Germany, and the Netherlands. For centuries, chained libraries became the universal common-sense solution to an age-old problem: how to keep knowledge safe while still making it available to those who needed it. But what was it like to actually read in one of these places? Forget the cozy image of curling up in a quiet corner with a novel. The experience was far more physical and structured. Imagine finding the text you need, then dragging the heavy, chain-bound manuscript across the wooden lectern, the metal links rattling and scraping with every movement. Readers couldn't wander freely or take their notes at home in comfort. They had to work right there, under the watchful eye of the librarian. Yet despite these restrictions, these libraries were vibrant hubs of learning and intellectual life. Students, monks, and scholars gathered to study, often under strict supervision, but they were surrounded by the greatest minds of their time. They could consult multiple sources, compare texts, and engage in quiet debate, all within this secure space. In a way, the chains reinforced the gravity of their work. These books weren't for casual browsing. They were tools for serious study, guarded with the same level of security as the royal jewels. The atmosphere must have been one of intense focus, a shared understanding that access to this knowledge was a rare and precious privilege. So what happened to these chained prisons of knowledge? Why don't we see chains in our local libraries today? The answer lies in a technological revolution. The invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century. This single innovation changed everything. Suddenly, books could be mass-produced. What once took a scribe years to copy by hand could now be replicated hundreds, then thousands of times in a fraction of the time. As books became more common, they also became more affordable. Their status as priceless, unique treasures began to fade. The need for heavy iron chains diminished as the risk of losing a single, irreplaceable volume disappeared. Slowly but surely, the chains came off. A new philosophy of librarianship began to emerge, one that saw libraries not just as secure vaults to preserve wisdom, but as gateways meant to actively spread it to as many people as possible. Today we stroll through open stacks, borrow books freely, and even carry entire libraries in our pockets on our phones and e-readers. But behind this incredible freedom of access lies the memory of a time when knowledge was so precious, it had to be shackled just to survive. The chained libraries may seem strange, even cruel, to us now. They represent a world of restriction that is alien to our modern sensibilities. But without them, countless invaluable works of literature, science, and history might never have survived the turbulent centuries of war, fire, and theft. They are a powerful reminder that knowledge is fragile, but also incredibly resilient. They show us that our modern, effortless access to ideas is not a given. It was built on centuries of struggle and innovation to both protect and disseminate information. The next time you check out a book or download an ebook, take a moment to appreciate the long, fascinating journey that led to that simple act of freedom. This was Weirdly Forgotten. I'm Ripon, and if you enjoyed unlocking this piece of hidden history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more forgotten stories from our strange and fascinating past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.